Hello, my name is P. Stephen Long, and I am the Land Survey Supervisor for MCDOT Survey Group. The Division of Transportation Engineering Survey Group has prepared this instructional video to assist professional surveyors and their CAD designers in the preparation of right-of-way plats in accordance with MCDOT standards and in navigating the review process. The first half of the presentation will cover the right-of-way plat checklist and necessary layout of plats. We will explain the responsibilities of the supervising surveyor in the plat review process, the documents required for plat submittal, and briefly describe the overall review process. We'll then go over the actual checklist items and give examples of some common errors we have seen during our review processes. These examples will aid you in avoiding common mistakes and will hopefully reduce multiple revisions and resubmissions by your firms in order to accelerate the property acquisition process. The second half of the presentation will cover the actual submission process to our SharePoint site, including what documents we require and how they are to be submitted. And lastly, we will explain some details related to sorting your internal required plat review documents and files and packaging them for submittal. The MCDOT right-of-way plat checklist was developed before 2004. The last major revision was made in July 2024, with a recent minor update in January 2025 to reflect the name of our new division chief. This detailed checklist describes how plats should be laid out, the items that must be included for review, and items that are required by MCDOT attorneys for the acquisition of property needed for transportation projects. Consistency in style and reliability of quality across all submitted plats is important. MCDOT is a governmental agency, and when these plats are filed and the property is acquired, they become a permanent record of rights-of-way and easements for the public, and for professional surveyors reestablishing and confirming those rights-of-way in the future. It is of utmost importance to the county that all right-of-way plats are professional looking and have uniform consistency for survey professionals and legal entities. The property acquisition staff, referred to as PAS in this presentation, county appraisers, county legal staff, and most importantly, the landowners rely on these plats as proof of the areas that are granted and those purchased by the county. We also strongly believe, as survey professionals, in the importance of the proper perpetuation of established public rights-of-way. Although we have had the plat standard checklist for over 2 decades, on many plat submissions, it has not been used as intended by the consultants submitting plats to us. The survey group and PAS over the years have had to take on the role of internal QC for consultants on their submitted plats. We have received incomplete and improperly formatted plats from consultants as the initial submittal, sometimes apparently directly from the CAD designer, with no evidence of actual review of the plat standards checklist or any internal QC on the consultant's side. In an attempt to mitigate these issues, in the last major update of the standards checklist, we added a surveyor's certificate. This certification will ensure that the surveyor in charge has either personally reviewed the checklist or has assigned internal quality control to someone by personally signing off on the certificate on the first page of the checklist included in every submittal. We have also developed an internal SharePoint site where all property acquisition related material is stored and disseminated. Consultants who are involved in a project requiring property acquisition will be assigned a county email address and password to access the SharePoint library. The Montgomery County Plat Review SharePoint is not accessible for anyone without a county email address. When the initial submittal is uploaded, our reviewers will evaluate your plat based on the criteria laid out in this checklist. If our reviewers find missing required review documents and/or 3 missed or incorrect applicable items, notice will be given that the submittal is not complete. Our review will end and the submission will be paused without further review or comment until the consultant provides the proper submittal requirements. Property acquisition can be a lengthy process. It involves many required steps, often taking a year or more through negotiations with owners, and many times it is this final step that can delay the start of construction. This tutorial and all of our efforts are intended to provide our consultants with the necessary information to train your personnel to properly prepare plats for a smooth, rapid review and approval by county staff. We're now going to highlight some of the more common mistakes that we have found during our plat reviews and show how they should be avoided or corrected. Oftentimes, road labels are submitted with incomplete or misreferenced data. We require all discoverable existing road rights-of-way and easements to be referenced to their original granting documents. Many times, we find reference to secondary re-subdivision plats or right-of-way plats as the record instrument that created the dedication or right-of-way. This is not correct. The labels to these roads must show the road name, width, and references to all primary documents contributing to the current legal right-of-way. On projects that are along state roads, state and county often have overlapping or superseding plats that cover parts of the same plat you are submitting. Make sure that they are all correctly referenced with any original baseline shown and referenced to each other by station and offset equivalencies. Contrary to the way most development happens today, 50 to 100 years ago, development plats many times dedicated only the roads to the county and created and recorded large blocks of identifiable land parcels for sale to different builders, contractors, and development companies. Another common issue is a change of ownership in the midst of the project design process. All attempts should be made to make sure that all the legal references to it are still valid and that all required property information is displayed. This information includes address, owner names, tax account number, and deed reference. We require specific line types and weights, as well as hatching patterns, to identify ownership type, property lines of division, and easement lines. These graphic depictions on your plats must match those shown in our checklist. The pattern scale size should closely match that shown in the checklist. We don't monitor the exact scale, but we do evaluate the appearance on the face of the plat, and consistency is crucial for a uniform presentation across all submitted plats. This is especially relevant when a project has multiple firms preparing, creating, and even sealing plats. In these cases, it is the lead consultant, the major contracted firm's project manager and sealing surveyor, who will determine the consistency across submissions by their subcontracted firms. We have specified icons to use for line table tags for each type of acquisition that the county utilizes. These icons allow for quick visual reference to the individual meets and bounds boxes. In this example, the consultant has used the same icon for all types of parcels. This would not be correct. The various icons make for a cleaner and more readable document to the legal personnel and landowners. It is important that parallel bearings and distances agree with ties to the baseline as well as on adjacent parcels. This consistency will help prevent confusion among non-survey professionals using these plats to draft legal documents, as well as with negotiating landowners. A datum reference note is required by COMAR, coordinates for the origin point of scaling and the grid to true convergence angle. A combined scale factor is also necessary for all ground to grid coordinate transformation. We require that all plat coordinates be ground-based. Please reach out to the survey group if you have any questions regarding your plat's coordinate transformation. All existing property and right-of-way markers are to be shown correctly. They must show the size and material of the marker, whether they were held, or show their bearing and distance to the computed corner. All breaks on fee simple and perpetual easements must have markers set and shown on the plat with the prescribed symbol from the engineering certificate. Coordinates are to be labeled to 3 decimal places. At least 4 points are to be labeled, and at least 2 of these need to be baseline coordinates. All components of baseline curves are to be labeled with their station and component type. All proposed easement POBs must be labeled with station and offset ties to the baseline. References to existing monuments, as described in the Maryland Rules for Condemnation, should prioritize any physical marker found on a property in the chain of title of the subject taking. If the monument is outside the extents of the current plat, an appropriate graphic tie line shall be provided with bearing and distance to the reference monument with definitive description of the point. Ties to adjoining property monuments shall be discouraged and only used as a secondary source if no physical markers are found on the subject's chain of title. A tie 1,500 feet away to an adjoining plat should not be used instead of an actual corner found somewhere on the subject plat. All areas are to be displayed in square feet rounded to the nearest foot, and acres rounded to 5 decimal places. These two values must be equal. Okay, that was a summary of the common errors we see on plats submitted to us. We have prepared a list of questions we frequently receive with MCDOT answers that can be found in the Consultants Resources subfolder on MCDOT's Plat Review SharePoint site. We're now going to move on to explaining the file structure organization on the consultant's local workstations in preparation for plat submission to the county SharePoint site. Consultants will be issued a Montgomery County email address to access the county SharePoint site. As previously mentioned, all plats and supporting documents for the review process should be submitted to the Plat Review SharePoint site. This is where all supporting documents for the property acquisition process are stored. Page 2 of the Plat Standards has a thorough list of all the documents that must be submitted at the onset of the review process. We've provided an executable batch file that can be run to create the folder structure required for submittals. It allows for the easy organization and retrieval on our end of all project documents, along with definitive tracking of when things are submitted especially with multiple resubmissions. The batch file is located in the Consultant Resources folder found in the County SharePoint site. The consultant personnel who have a county email address will have read-only access to the Consultant Resources folder. The example of the major file structure created by the batch file is shown in the yellow rectangle within the Resources folder above. This folder also contains a PDF showing an example of the entire review folder structure. Also provided is a PAS spreadsheet of historical county road commissions and dedications that may be helpful in acquiring original recording information to be noted on the plats if required. And finally, we have a PDF of the current plat review standards and checklists. When the batch file is run on your local machine, it will create a master folder, which should be renamed with the date of submittal appended to the front as shown. Once the folder is expanded, the proper partitioning of files from your own system into their appropriate place in our folder structure should be completed. Further details can be found in the detailed Plat Submission File Structure PDF document previously mentioned on the last slide in the Consultant Resources folder on the MCDOT SharePoint. The consultant will then upload the entire folder structure either by dragging or uploading the main dated submittal folder from your workstation or by zipping up the entire structure with a similar file name into the O5 submittals folder of the MCDOT SharePoint site. This initial upload will contain all the supporting files. You only need to add additional files if they are required as a result of our review comments or last-minute adjustments in design, for example, requested by PAS or a project manager to lessen the property impacts. Please do not upload the same files that you have already been loaded. Once uploaded and included documents are confirmed, a link to the O6 Reviews folder will be provided to the consultant for read-only access and to any subfolder in the project reviews. Read-write access to the O5 submittal folder for the consultant will be maintained for the longevity of the plat review up until 10 days past final approval of all plats. And the blue approved folder will contain final approved plats, ready for sealing and submittal to PAS for recordation and negotiation. We'll now look at some more detail on the organization of files on the consultant workstation in preparation for your first submittal for review. The following is a detailed breakdown of the file structure and what types of files to place in each folder, as required on page 2 of the Plat Standards checklist. The structure above is what is created when you run the provided batch file. For larger file submittals, such as a long corridor project, we ask for a key sheet or layout guide that can be submitted showing the overall layout of all of the plat locations along the project corridor. If this is the case, that file would be placed in the O1 Project Initiation folder. We have a required preferred naming system for organization that follows the template naming shown on this slide. This is a folder for files that can aid the review and follow the naming structure with identification of the project and date of creation. An example of such a file may be the Basic Concept Plan Presentation PDF. A typical example of an overview map of plat layouts where two different consultants are submitting plats along a long corridor project. The Land Records folder has three subject folders: Other, plats, and properties. Other folder contains documents such as unrecorded plats. These are usually early Montgomery County Department of Public Works plats or park and planning property plats that have been sealed by a surveyor. Also, some acquired private or equity docket plats or right-of-way plan sheets from previous construction projects. Montgomery County Department of Public Works projects prior to 1982 sometimes had right-of-way plans within the plan set. And also sometimes abandonment resolutions, which may have plats or other documents not normally found. Plats folder includes normal recorded plats found on plats.net used for the mosaic, as well as right-of-way plans or plats from both Montgomery County or state right-of-way commissions or state highway administration. And properties folder would contain property information relating to each individual property affected by the proposed acquisition. These would be deeds rather than plats used in the boundary right-of-way resolution, along with any SStat records. Here's an example of the land record's other folder that may include non-recorded supplementary data, such as an unrecorded right-of-way plan from the MCDOT Internal Archive Records or Plan site. The Plats folder would contain any plat used in the mosaic construction and resolution of the right-of-way using the described naming structure. This allows fast referencing and determining age and order of subdivisions and re-subdivision. The Properties folder contains current deeds used in the resolution that are included with their naming, along with any tax ID SStat information that you may have downloaded. Properties can be subsorted, but should include the address on the folder name if tax account numbers are used for organization. All these items make for very quick retrieval and checking during the review process. The O3 project data folder is for all project data including alignment reports, all CAD files, easement and fee-taking meets and bounds reports, site or evidence photos that can further corroborate your right-of-way resolution in difficult scenarios, along with ASCII formatted point files and any copies of handwritten or electronically produced survey notes, field books, or raw files. CAD design files should include alignment files and any improvements that contribute to acquiring easements or fee simple takings, along with the working mosaic file. The latter must be on ground coordinates based from your chosen scaling point. All files should have the required naming structure for easy identification of later revisions replacing older versions. It is important that subsequent editions of any revised file share the same name except for the appended revision date. This allows for quick substitution of updated files during the review process. Printed lot reports for all takings must be included, with appropriate identifiers linking them to their meets and bounds IDs on the plats. Point files must be in the approved format of ASCII point files with detailed descriptions. Finally, we come to the submittals folder, which will contain all the previously discussed folder structure. Numbered and dated submittal folder of your locally arranged data export. This is where you should place the prearranged subfolder data, which would include the PDF plots of the plats you are submitting for review, all appropriately named. When uploading to MCDOT's SharePoint site, consultants working on multiple plats for different projects will be able to see any of the project plat folders that they are currently working on. Again, all folders are read-only for consultants except for their project's O5 submittal folder. You will enter your project folder and upload your folder structure or zip file to the O5 submittal and project name folder. Project name of the submittal subfolder will be prepared by the survey review staff. Once a submittal is complete, all project folders should be visible within 24 hours. We've provided some answers to common questions about the folder structure and submittal process that can be found in a PDF document in the Consultant Resources subfolder on the MCDOT Plat Reviews SharePoint site. In addition, questions regarding the MCDOT Plat Review submittal process can be addressed to me, Steve Long, Land Survey Supervisor, or the appropriate survey group staff. Consultants can find additional resources on the county SharePoint in the XPlat Review Resources folder. Thank you for your time and partnership with MCDOT in bringing greater efficiency and speedier reviews to our property acquisition process.